time right now is more important than the revenue or the income
absolutely.
that it brings
in. Time is more important than anything, especially while my kids are young.
Have you seen an increase in revenue?
I was out of my garage, I was pushing 15 to 20,000 a month. Now we're looking at 20 to 30, so we've kind of doubled. So nice.
So what's the main services that you're promoting right now?
Paint protection film. We do have slow periods around the holidays. Everybody spends all their money on fireworks for New Year's here.
Really? There's so many people in this industry that they're just so secluded. They don't get out of their own bubble. They go to work, they show up, they get work done, and they never talk to anybody else inside the industry. You're just one conversation away from going from good to great, or changing the business forever, or making that one change that grows the business by 20, 30, 40% that year. Are you from Hawaii?
Yeah, so I wasn't born here. I was born in Tennessee. My parents were in the military. We moved out when I was about 2 weeks old. And then I still got my social security number here, so seems like I was born here, right? But then we lived here until I was about 8, moved to the mainland, lived with my grandparents for about 18 years. We were in Florida. And then it wasn't until maybe about 15 years ago we moved back to Hawaii.
Why Hawaii?
So we moved back. Well, obviously I've always considered Hawaii home, right? We've always known we were going to move back. The reason we had to move to Florida was because my mom, back in the day, was her company that she was working for had gotten into some legal issues. They had to freeze all assets. She was 9 months pregnant with my brother at the time, and nobody would hire her because she was 9 months pregnant. Cool. So my grandparents lived in Florida, so they bought us plane tickets to go out there until we could get back up on our feet. And then eventually, 18 years later, after having my sister and then being able to finally get around to it, we came back to Hawaii.
So you were how old when you came here?
I was 2 weeks old when we moved to Hawaii.
Wow. Yeah. And then that's funny. That's actually what happened with my son. So we recently moved to Arizona. So I was born and raised in Northern California, San Jose specifically. Sure. And as soon as my son was born, we hit the road and we flew. We drove because we had a bunch of stuff with us, had pets and stuff. We drove to Arizona. I think it was about a week after we got there as born.
Nice. Yeah. So cool.
So what was the first thing was business the first thing that you started once you got into that age?
Once I got into the age of, more specific, what do you mean? Like,
how long have you been in the industry?
I've been in the industry for 22 years now, going on 22 years. Yeah. So I started when I was 18, started tinting windows. Back in Florida, fresh out of high school, I was doing some other things, construction, this and that, and then decided to get into audio customization for
car audio industry?
Yeah, car audio industry.
You're kidding? Okay.
So I used to install custom, TV double dins and stereos and sound systems, and we would do Lambo doors on cars and custom body kits and everything. And then the company that I was working for at that time doing that stuff had an in-house window tinter who eventually left, and he started his own business. So they needed somebody to tint. They asked me to do it. They trained me. I had somebody come out. It was 5 days of just 8 hours a day training, and he left afterwards. So I was like on my own.
So you learned how to tint within those 5 days?
Within those 5 days. I wasn't the best at it by any means, but I did learn the basics of how to slap some windows on some.
And how old were you at this point?
I was 18. Yeah.
So 18. Okay. Yeah. And were you already in the car industry for a couple of years before that, prior, or you just
for about a year or so prior to that? So I graduated high school around 17.
Oh, so you were still pretty new into
it. Yeah. So I've always enjoyed cars, worked on them, but I got into the professional part of it around 17.
How was the market like that back then?
It was pretty good, especially in Florida where we lived. Everyone loved audio customization because big sound, subwoofers, all that was a big thing.
So that culture still carried over.
Correct.
That West Coast culture. That's California culture.
It is, yeah. So
I think that was the shock that I had coming out here. I intentionally did not, research or look up too much about Hawaii before we came out here because I've been here for a couple of weeks now. Sure. And first of all, flew into Waikiki, and I was like, there's a lot more city than I thought there was going to be here. Yeah. Now I know different. We just got back from the Big Island too. Yeah. So we did a little bit of traveling over there. Yeah. And love it out here. Yeah. I knew one thing that I've always heard is that it's a slower pace out here. Love that. Needed that break there. Yeah. Didn't expect everything to be as expensive. I mean, dude, I paid like $20 for a street taco.
Oh yeah, man, they're expensive.
$20.
Especially in
like that's a go-to. Yeah. I was just thinking, from California, go-to places, street tacos, can't go wrong with it. Right. $3 for a taco or $2, something like that now.
No way, man.
$20. It's like $20 is minimum.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, pretty expensive, especially closer to Waikiki you are. So if you get outside of Waikiki and you get closer to, like this side, the west side of the island, North Shore, things like that, it's a little bit cheaper.
So does that make business challenging for you?
No, not really. Yeah. So as far as hospitality goes, the restaurant business, it's more expensive in Waikiki. Of course, auto industry, window tinting, this, that, and the other, no matter where you're at, you're basically going to charge what you want to charge. Luckily, we have a couple big companies here in Hawaii who they charge a higher price, which kind of raises the bar for the market. So it allows us smaller guys to be able to do so. But we got to make sure that we offer something to the customer to equate to that dollar amount.
That's interesting to me. I got a lot of questions for you about the market here because it's just such a unique environment. We did a tour, Uber driver, I forget who I spoke with, but he said it doesn't really change here in Hawaii. Is that true? Is that from your experience? It's
pretty
slow,
consistent. Yeah,
consistent?
We do have slow periods around the holidays. So that's whenever people travel. There's more spending going on with, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. Everybody spends all their money on fireworks for New Year's here.
Really?
So yeah,
are they illegal here?
They're illegal, but people still spend the money.
So the ones that go up in the air?
They're illegal.
They're illegal. Okay.
But this place is like no other whenever it comes to fireworks, especially aerials. So yeah, you should come out here for that time. That's amazing.
New Year's time?
Yeah,
4th of July?
4th of July, not so much.
It's New Year's, huh?
It's New Year's.
That's cool.
New Year's
that's
is
cool.
the one, man. People spend tens of thousands of dollars on fireworks.
I find myself traveling whenever there's fireworks, and I think the best fireworks show. We seen the one in Waikiki last Friday.
Yeah,
we seen that.
Yeah.
That was really
Imagine
good.
the whole island like that.
That's how it is?
Seriously, yeah. The whole island is like that.
I got to do more business out here.
You got to come out here, man. You got to come out
I
here.
got to do more business.
Amazing. Yeah, we'll get some videos and send them to you. So.
That'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you a question about the market here. So does it make it more challenging? Is it more competitive out here? You talked about some big guys out here. Are they aggressively trying to grow, or are they kind of complacent, happy with where they're at, with what they're doing?
They're a Lumar dealer. They're the top in the nation right now.
Really?
Yeah, they're the number one.
Auto
Lumar
or
dealer.
fly class?
Both. Yeah.
Both.
Yeah, they're both. They run graphics, automotive, and flat class. They're the number one automotive company in the world. Or in the U.S. I'm sorry, but those guys they're amazing, right? And they're always setting the bar. They're like the innovators of window tinting whenever it comes to automotive, anyways, right? They're always setting the bar high. They're always growing, always pushing to grow, right? So they are one of my biggest competitions out here, right? But
are they mainlanders?
No, they're all local. They're all local, right?
They're local.
They're awesome, man. They're all local guys.
I know a little bit of the terminology now.
Yeah. So now they're all local guys. They're awesome. Been in business for over 40 years now, and I actually used to run their automotive division for the last 9 years. So I ran the whole thing for the automotive division, both locations. They definitely set the bar high. But with that, especially with the economy the way it is, people are looking to save a little money and they're priced a little bit higher. So it does help to have lower overhead and be able to charge a little bit less and still be able to service those customers and get them in. So I feel like I have the advantage in that aspect because my overhead is much lower. So I can charge lower, still have a higher profit margin, but still be competitive as far as with them.
I can see that. I can see that competitive edge that you got there. And you decided after 22 years, you said, that you've been in the industry, you recently decided to open up your new shop.
Sure.
And here it is, high tint company, right here. And what made you make that decision? I know there's always that dilemma. There's always that risk, or that there might be a fear there. Why did you feel like now was the time to finally open up your own shop?
Well, like I said, I was working for that other tint company, and decided that I needed more flexibility because I have 2 young kids. And my wife, for the first 8 years of my kids' life, she was a stay-at-home mom. So she wanted to go back to work. It was time for her to go back to work. I needed the flexibility to be able to be there for my kids, to pick them up and drop them off from school if need be. Here in Hawaii, we have so many days off from school. So I needed that flexibility. And, unfortunately, the company, understandably so, wasn't able to flex as much as I needed because it's a lot of days that need to be off or closed, or I needed to be able to bring my kids here to the shop or whatever, right? So I decided to part ways and just said, you know what, I think it's time to do this on my own. At first, when I left, I wasn't planning on starting my own business. I just left and I was looking for something else, just to work for small tint shops here and there, just something that was a little more flexible without really focusing on starting my own business. And I did it for, a couple months. I worked for another small little shop, but it was so slow and it wasn't for me. It wasn't able to keep me busy. So I decided to look around elsewhere. I was looking at a couple other tint shops. Everybody I spoke with, they said, well, with your experience, you need to just open your own business. With your experience, with everything.
Who stands out in your mind the most that gave you that push?
Actually, my a tint company right behind our building here. They're in the same plaza right behind us.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah.
Good buddies, huh? Good friends?
Yeah. So like we worked together when I was at this other company. We worked together. We actually got them set up for their Lumar dealership and everything. And
Okay.
I talked to him and he said, you know what, we wouldn't be able to keep you busy because you're too talented, and we would actually have to just open a whole nother location to do so. So why don't you just start your own business? And I said, he was probably the third person that told me that. I was like, sure, I'll go ahead and do it.
So was it hard though? Were you reluctant to do it, or did you just decide, you know what, I need to do it, I'm ready for it?
I was ready for it. I told my wife, because my wife has business degree, a business background. She ran her own business at home for a little while. So she had a little bit of insight on how to get the ball rolling. Right?
I see.
So I used a little bit of her help and, got the business set up. We signed up, got the LLC started, and just started doing the insurance and everything. And from there, it started in my garage, right? So it was very simple, very low, if any, overhead at all, right? So I was like, just run it out of the garage for a little bit.
How long?
We ran it for a whole year out of the garage, but I had no intention on leaving the garage. I was like, I'm comfortable, This is cool. Keep it simple. Kids are at home. I can just, have that flexibility that I wanted.
It sounds like time right now is more important to you than the revenue, the income
absolutely.
that it brings
in.
in.
Time is more important than anything, especially while my kids are young, because you don't
How
get
old?
them back.
How
They're
old?
7 and 9, two boys. Yeah, so they're
that
still
age.
very young, and I was putting in 60 to 80 hour weeks where I was before, coming home at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night pretty consistently, and I never really got to see my kids. So I'd see them on Sundays, and then Sundays I'm exhausted, right, from burning the midnight oil all week long. My HOA that runs our neighborhood, they kept giving us fines. They kept fining us for running, because we're not supposed to run a business out of a garage, right? And I was like, I'm not running a business out of my garage. We're running the admin, right? So they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I got into a few quarrels with some of the higher ups with the HOA, and finally I just said, you know what, I'm just going to look for something. Let me just see what's out there. So, and I've been browsing before, and I didn't really find anything that I liked, because I have a certain look, I have a certain appeal that I want to have, right? I don't want just just 4 walls and have to, spend all this money to fix it up. So I was like, let me just wait and see what's out there. So finally I decided to see what was out there, and within 30 minutes of looking online, I found this place, and it was amazing.
It just seems like the pieces of the puzzle are just game laid out for you.
Perfectly, right? And
that's pretty cool.
And it's pretty crazy, because I've always said that in life. Like, things just always work out for me. Sometimes you go through some rough patches and you don't see you don't see what the potential is, right? You're looking at then and now, and you're like frustrated. It's difficult, but then everything pans out. Everything plays out, and then I look back and I'm like, all this happened for a reason, right? Like if I wasn't forced to have to leave the other company, I never would have got to this point here. And who's to say the next year and 5 years from now, I'm not going to be in a better situation, right? So we just keep striving to do better.
I mean, it's definitely working out for you. And I definitely, I agree, and follow, I share some of the values that you have when it comes to prioritizing family, your time. Yeah. There's a philosophy that I picked up over the years. I'm not sure where I got it from, but someone once told me the first thing that you go after is you want money. Mm-hmm. You want as much money as you can. Sure. And most of the time, majority of the time, you're trading time for the money. So you have a lot of money, but no time. Yeah. And then once you get all the money, you're making good cash, then the second thing is you're thinking, well, shit, I want my time back. Yeah. So then you start working on that journey. I want the money and the time. Yeah. And that, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you have to learn how to delegate, elevate, build a company that doesn't need all of you and all your time. Exactly. But after you get the money, then you get the time. Mm-hmm. Last thing is, it's all about the people that you spend all that time and extra money or whatever you have with. Yeah. And that people component, the quality of people that are around you, that's something that I feel that people don't prioritize enough. Yeah. Exactly. They don't focus on that enough. Exactly. Yeah. So it seems like you're definitely a positive person from what we just met. Yeah. What, 2 days ago now? Yeah. It was 2 days ago? Roughly about that, yeah. I was talking to Brody. Shout out to Brody. Thank you for making this happen.
Thanks, Brody, man. You guys are awesome.
And he told me, I was talking to him, I said, hey, who do you know that is just doing really well right now, that's crushing in business? And Jeremiah, you came up right away. Awesome, man. Are you going just as fast as you expected, or are you doing better than you expected? Or did you think that, what is your opinion now looking back after just over a little bit over a year being a business owner?
I always knew that I was going to do well and I was going to be able to grow, because I have the mindset and I know kind of what I need to do to get there. Yeah. I just wasn't expecting it to come this fast. Working out of the garage was great. I had a lot of clientele, a lot of good business, but I wasn't really focused on expanding or growing as much. A friend of mine told me, if you build it, they will come. right? So yeah, I was like, oh, okay, whatever. It was nerve wracking, but I wasn't expecting to have it just take off like this. The first couple months were slow, but as soon as summer hit, it just took off, right? So, and I mean, we just getting the ball rolling.
And you opened up January 2023?
July 1st, 2023 in my garage.
July.
Yeah.
Okay.
July 1st, 2023 in my garage. And then we got this place April of 2024. So April 1st, we signed the lease on this place. So just a few months now.
Has there been a big impact moving into a location like this for you?
No, not at all. A little more overhead, so less money in my pocket, but that's great, man. I love it. We get more business coming in. I love interacting with people, and I love people's response when they walk in and they see the place. It's just beautiful, and then they give me all that input, and it's awesome.
I know. You got a great place here.
Thank you, man.
You got a great place here. I wouldn't have
lucked
guessed
out.
that you've just moved into it, what, 3 months now?
Yeah, roughly, yeah. April
About
1st, yeah.
It's definitely expanded your capacity. Have you seen an increase in revenue
Absolutely,
or not yet?
So in overall sales, I was out of my garage. I was pushing 15 to 20,000 a month. Now we're looking at 20 to 30. So we've kind of doubled. So nice, so
and it's
good.
still new.
And it's still new.
It's still
yeah,
new. It takes
exactly.
about 3. From my experience, it takes about 3 to 6 months to really, really see that benefit of that one big hire or that one big move or the next big location. Sometimes with the location, sometimes it takes about a year.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool that you're seeing an increase already.
I know, it's amazing.
What is the type of customer you're going after? What's the main services that you're promoting right now?
So we're pushing our automotive right now, which is we're doing paint protection film. We're pushing that. It's a higher ticket item.
That's cool.
Something we enjoy doing. It's a slower paced job too. So I mean, we push them out quickly, but
Is that the number one revenue generator?
Yes, so far, yes.
That's
it
cool.
is. Yeah, so
that's unique.
Yeah,
that's
so
unique.
when we first moved in, we had a full vehicle every single week. And then we sprinkled in a couple front clips here and there, then some tint jobs, and then I'm gonna say somewhere around $10,000 a month in paint protection, $10,000 to $15,000 a month in paint protection to start, up until recently. Once summer hit, paint protection kind of slowed down a little bit. Now window tinting's picking up. So, but yeah, it's great all around. It's kind of what we're pushing right now is the automotive side. We're gonna be pushing flat glass a little bit more in the upcoming months. I have a couple guys ready to jump on board. I just got to get the business in the door.
That's cool.
So yeah, so I got people waiting. People on board.
That's impressive. I mean, you're just over a year in business. You're already averaging $20,000, $30,000 a month, and paint protection film is the number one revenue generator for you. That's not normal. Why is that normal for you? It's hard to get in front of new vehicle owners like that at scale. So why are you so successful with that?
I think it has to do with the selling ability and the people that I know, my network. I work with a lot of detail companies who are well established here in Hawaii, especially on Oahu, and they have a big clientele base that trust them, and they help push my paint protection sales. So they always tell their customer, hey, you're getting ceramic coating, I recommend doing paint protection as well to protect your ceramic coating and your paint from oxidization, UV, rock chips, and whatnot. Yeah, so that then sends the customer to me. Customer already feels like they trust me because they were referred by a friend or a trustworthy source.
So it's that network that took you a few years, right?
Yeah.
Decade or so to build up over time.
Yep.
That's the power of just focus.
Yeah, exactly.
When you look back over the past 20 years, was window tint and paint protection, like when did paint protection film come into the equation for you?
So I've been doing paint protection film for probably about 10 years now. So we've been installing. I ran the automotive division at the other location.
Yeah, because we left off on window tint. So you picked up paint protection film 10 years in.
Yeah.
Last 10 years. Okay.
Yeah. So the last 10 years I picked up on it. Kind of took their auto division with paint protection film from $0. They just kind of shut it down to roughly about $20,000 a month. Within the 9 years that I was running that location. So, and then it's continued its scale since I left, but I decided when I left, I wanted to do that. It's something I enjoy doing. I used to wrap cars and whatnot. I'm not into the color change wraps anymore. It's a little more detailed than I want to do. But the clear PPF and matte PPFs, I'll do all day.
I think it's a funny conversation. Every time I talk with a color change wrap shop, every time I talk with they don't want nothing to do with PPF.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's changing. Don't get me wrong, it's changing.
Sure. Especially with colored PPFs now.
But now, and then you talk to a big, successful PPF shop, they don't want anything to do with color change wrap. Yeah. So it's just, that'd be a funny interview. Let's put one big PPF shop with another big wrap shop. I think a lot of people would watch that.
Yeah, I'm sure they would.
That'd be a good one. Yeah. You mentioned flat glass. I want to ask you about flat glass.
Sure.
Actually, I'll ask you about flat glass, but before flat glass, the new vehicle market. We just got done talking about how everything is so much more expensive here on the island. Are cars more expensive here? Have you seen it fluctuate recently this year? Because this year there's just not as much new cars sold.
Sure.
You look at reports, you look at the numbers, and it is what it is. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
How's the new car market here?
So the new car market it's down, I'm thinking, because ever since COVID, they've had issues with sourcing materials to make certain items and whatnot. And here in Hawaii, everything has to be shipped in. So shipping kind of got delayed. So everything got backed up at the warehouses. Shipping got delayed. So we started seeing cars delayed out where people were normally getting their car. They would buy a car and get it within 2 to 3 weeks. Now it's 6 months. So we're seeing, it took a while, and we're seeing waves. So cars coming in shipments here. So you see a wave, I see a bunch of new cars on the road. All of a sudden your phones are ringing and getting busy. And then you'll maybe have a week or so where it's a little quieter. So either had their services done or they've done their searching and they're not ready to do the service yet. But that's why we're just trying to stay top of mind and try to keep advertising and marketing to those people. So that way they do eventually come to us. Yeah. So
What type of advertising are you doing?
So right now we're just running Google ads. Google is running great. August 5th, just started our iHeartRadio ad. So we have a ad running on their streaming. Yeah.
Does that work well here in Hawaii?
It does. You'd be surprised, especially if you're live on radio, because you're catching people in traffic, and traffic here is horrible, as you probably know in California too, right? Yeah. So people spend so much time in their cars that they're listening to the radio and they're going to hear this ad so many times over and over. Okay. And when it comes to marketing, especially right now where we're at brand recognition and brand awareness, we want to develop that brand. We want people to hear our brand over and over and over. They need that repetition. Until they decide, let me call those guys. Let me go to those guys, right? So it helps drastically.
I could imagine that. I've seen some markets in the States. Mm-hmm. It's usually not the big cities in the States or the mainland. Do you call it the States or mainland?
We call it mainland.
You call it the mainland, right? Mainland. You've been here long enough. You're local. You're local. Yeah. It's so fun. Anyways, I love culture. Sure. I love culture. That's why as soon as we got here, we started doing all the hop on, hop off bus tours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mainly to see the sites, but also I wanted to see the tour guide. I want to hear their storytelling. Yeah. Some of the best tour guides I've ever had was here on the island.
That's awesome, man.
But when it comes to flat glass, when it comes to flat glass market, are you advertising that or is it just not yet?
Not yet. No. Okay. We do have, on some of our ads that we also offer residential and commercial. But it's not something we're really pushing right now, only because I'm kind of, I just hired on an employee just a month ago. So now I'm a two-man shop, right? So trying to get that time. It's great. I love it. Yeah.
Any nerves hiring your first person? Are you ready for it?
There are some questionable, like, is this the right time? But it's only for the better. When I crunch the numbers, so I'm a math guy. When I have Excel spreadsheets for everything, and when I crunch the numbers, I'm like, we'll be fine. We'll be doing fine. And plus the money that he's going to help generate is also going to add to our revenue, which is more than enough to cover any services that we put for payroll and everything.
Sweet.
Like that. Yeah.
So how do you track the iHeartRadio ads, your Google ads? Do you use a CRM?
No, we don't use a CRM. They actually have the platform that you can use to track some of the analytics and everything. So iHeartRadio gives you a login to their dashboard, so you can see the analytics and the breakdown of where the what demographic, what location, and everything, and where it's coming from. And Google is very similar to that. Yeah. So.
Cool.
It makes it a little bit easier to track that way.
Why are you interested in flat glass in the near future?
There's a lot of revenue in flat glass. And here in Hawaii, we have a lot of hotels, a lot of big business that's always needing their tint removed, retinted. A lot of homes, right? Especially older homes with plate glass that need to be up to code. So then we can offer security films and whatnot.
I mean, it's hot. It's always hot year round.
Yeah, and people need that heat rejection just the same as people with their vehicles do, right? So, and the market for residential and commercial is pretty big here. Not many people are tapped into that. Most shops, most tint companies here in Hawaii focus on automotive. There's not a whole lot that do residential and commercial. There's a few of the big companies, so I'd be competing with some of them, but that's something that I'm trying to get everything lined up, so that way we can get that, taken care of.
Yeah, it's big. I think as the automotive side of the industry gets more competitive, I'm definitely seeing a lot more people start focusing on flat glass a little bit more. But the pitfall that I always see is they try and run the flat glass business like it's an automotive brand, and they're two completely separate companies.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any experience in the flat glass industry in the past 20 plus years?
So yeah, I've done a lot of flat glass installation back in the day when I was working for this company for the last 9 years. I was automotive division manager, so I didn't do a lot of flat glass. So trying to get back into it, but I got a lot of people who are helping me out with that. Some insiders, giving me some scoops and whatnot. So,
on the commercial side or residential?
Both. Yeah. So,
both. Okay, cool.
So I'm getting a lot of people, they give me some pointers. Hey, you got to look out for this type of framing. You got to look out for these types of glass. This type of film is newer, so you got to, offer this or that. So yeah, there's a lot of insider scoops that I'm getting from people that help out.
It just dawned on me. Your target market, is it locals that moved here from the States, the mainlanders, or is it people who've been here the whole lives? Like, what's the mix there for your customer bases?
So for us, it's both actually. So we have
50-50, or are you talking 70-30?
That's 50-50. So
really?
Yeah. So right now we're pushing. I have a lot of people who are. So we have a lot of military. They get PCS'd out here. Their vehicles come from the mainland. So most of the time they're illegal. The tint's illegal. So they have to get it fixed.
What are the tint laws here in Hawaii?
So for passenger vehicles, it has to be 35% on all sides and back, plus or minus 6. So in other words, with the film on the glass, the VLT has to read at 29% or higher.
35%? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's not as bad as California, right?
No, California, you're allowed to go darker on the back half, though.
Right.
So California allows darker on the rear on passenger cars. I think you can even go down to 5%, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But your two front doors have to be 70.
That's what it is. And the windshield as well.
Yeah. So
wow.
It kind
so
of
yours
equates
is all the way around.
Yeah. So we can do 35 all the way around. The front windshield, we do have to have 70% VLT. So that means we put a 90 or even sometimes an 80 on some older cars, and that allows for a 70% VLT.
How often are you doing tint removal?
Quite a bit, yeah. So we get a lot, like I said, we get a lot of those military coming in. I got some friends over at Hickam Air Force Base, and they spread my name around. Right?
So how do you build so many of these relationships and connections? Are you just that kind of guy, or
just a fun guy, and I'm a personable person. I like to talk to people. I like to meet people. I try to be as positive as possible, and I help people out. So if anybody's in need, I help them out, and they remember that. And
full transparency. I was with my wife was right next to me when we were first talking on the phone a couple of days ago. And right after I got off, I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna have a great conversation." that guy. I'm gonna have a good conversation with him. So I'm glad that we're here now.
Yeah, no.
But you said that you watched some of the interviews before.
Yeah.
How long have you been aware of Automotive Mastery?
I don't know how long. I want to say at least a year or so. I've been aware of you guys. Yeah. So I follow Mike Norn. Mike Norn's great, right? And he's always pushing Autofilm Mastery, right? 100%. And so I always see it. I'm seeing it all the time. So I'm like, oh, let me check this out. So I started watching it, following you guys, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool, And then seeing a lot of the big guys in the industry, and they're doing these interviews, and it's awesome because as a young entrepreneur, new to the business side and running the business side, I've always liked watching Mike Norn and seeing his training videos, and he gives a lot of information on social media about training and everything. I take a lot of tips from that, and I use that and incorporate it into my installation techniques. And same with the business side. So I see a lot of guys, doing certain things, and I'm like, that's a good idea. Let me try that. Yeah. So it does help. It helps a lot. It's almost like having a mentor without having a mentor. At the same time.
And that was always the goal for us. We don't talk about it a lot nowadays, but early on in the beginning. This industry was there was a lot of gatekeepers in the industry. It was kind of hush hush, and people didn't really work well together, and they didn't want to give out what was working well for them because, they thought that competition mattered. You are your own competition, right? Yeah. And that's always what we preach, and that's what we've said for years now. But we were the first ones that really came out and said, look, we're going to create this platform, and we're just going to tell everybody as much as possible what's working right now during this year. And do you imagine that market growing pretty steadily here? I feel like there's a lot of growth happening in the islands. Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, so I think the flat glass is good because there's always warranty work is going to be a thing, right? You're always going to have warranty work, so that's an ongoing thing. But there's a lot of new buildings, hotels, and resorts going in that. You can tap into that market too, and that's what we plan on doing. Trying to hit some of these in Ko'olina first, maybe move down to Waikiki and hit some of those. I might have to compete with some of the big dogs around here, and take some business from them. But it is what it is.
Now we're up north. Are we up north?
No, this
on this island.
No, this is more the southern point. Yeah,
this is the southern point.
This is like southwest.
The big players on the other side of the island.
They're in town by the airport.
Right next to you.
And, downtown area. So just a few miles out. But the thing is with Hawaii, a lot of people you'll find don't travel as much, right? So, even though, it's 10 miles from here to the airport, a lot of people who live in town or around the airport don't typically drive out this way unless they're people who live here and work over there. So your demographic is basically those people who live in that area or work in that area. So that's why on this side, I obviously live over here, so it's great because it's close to my house. But it's a growing community. Kapolei is basically a new city, and it's still growing. As I'm sure you've seen a lot of land
beautiful.
clearing.
We're at the resort about 10 minutes away from you, the Marriott, and it's gorgeous. Yeah. It's gorgeous. It feels very different from Waikiki.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Ko'olina is a beautiful. I love that place. Yeah, Waikiki is not the same as it used to be. It's a little bit different.
It's the city, man. Let me tell you, it's the city.
It is. It's more of a concrete jungle now. It's not what you would expect whenever you think you're going to Hawaii, right? Ko'olina is a little more like that.
What's your favorite island, by the way?
I like Maui.
You like Maui?
Yeah, we lived on Maui for 2 years, and I loved it.
We didn't make the trip to Maui.
That's my favorite place, man. Yeah.
What did you do when you were in Maui?
I tinted windows just for a small little tint
shop.
Still
tinting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there a big? I mean, there's over 1 million people here on this island. I mean, how many people are there? How big is the demand there?
I mean, the demographic over there, I'm not sure what it is, but it's nowhere near as many people as it is here. At least it wasn't then. That was probably about 10 years ago. So.
Okay, so it was a while back.
Yeah, so it was a while.
I mean, we went to the Big Island, like I said, and it's a huge difference.
Oh yeah,
9-day difference. I mean. Yeah. You land on the Big Island. There's nothing but lava rock everywhere. There's no trees. There's no greenery. And then we drove 20 minutes, I don't know, south, north, whatever it was.
Sure.
And now you're in a jungle.
Yeah. It's crazy. The different or the different
I sound like such a tourist, don't
I? No, people. I mean, it's impressive to me as well. Even here on Oahu, like you can be in the concrete jungle in town or by the airport, right? And then you can drive out here to the west side and have big, beautiful, dry, arid kind of mountains, right? You drive to the North Shore and it's beautiful, it's green, it's lush, and it's gorgeous. So it's like a different landscape everywhere you go, and it's beautiful in its own right. So that's why it's amazing, and every island has something different to offer in that. And that's why every island's beautiful in its sense. But for me, Maui has the perfect blend of Oahu's fast-paced. Now, for us, Oahu is fast-paced, different from California, right? So Oahu is a little bit faster-paced.
Hey, I don't know, man. I waited a little bit longer than I used to for that Starbucks cup of coffee.
Yeah, right? It's getting busy. It's getting
what do
busy.
they call it? Yeah. In California, because I'm Mexican and Caucasian, but they call it a Mexican minute. But what do they call it here?
Here it's Hawaiian time.
Hawaiian time, that's what it is.
Everybody's on Hawaiian time, so that means you're running a little bit late, but you'll be there.
Hawaiian time. Okay, are we running on real time or Hawaiian time?
Yeah. So we're running on Hawaiian time today, which is perfectly fine. You're good. So.
Well, I want to take a step back, and I want to go back to when you first started your company, because you're making it look easy, man. You're growing fast. But what was the challenging part?
I think just getting people in the door to start out, that obviously is going to be the most difficult part, or at least it was for me anyways. So luckily my wife has a marketing degree, and she kind of helped out with some of that. So she gave me some pointers. She helped with social media. She ran her own social media marketing company for a couple years prior to me starting the business.
Oh, you're kidding?
Yeah. So she was able to come. She shot some videos, started running, setting up the social media pages and everything. We set up on Nextdoor, which is a local community app. We started running small ads on there. They were very affordable, and just got to our local community within our neighborhood because I was running out of my garage.
That is cool.
Yeah. And she would have the content and basically set up the social media page for our portfolio, right? People can go and see the work.
So she's kind of like the secret weapon right there.
Yeah, she helps. The business is actually in her name. It's her company. Yeah.
That's cool, man. That's killer. Because didn't you say she gave you that push?
She did.
She was one of the people who gave you that push. How important is your wife in your
wife
company?
Is so important to me. Within the company, she's amazing. She's the backbone. She's what helps me be able to do this, because as most young entrepreneurs may know, you don't always turn a profit and you can't pay yourself right away, right? So we have bills we got to pay, we got kids. So who's doing that? She's creating that revenue, doing her work, and then helping pay the bills at home, so that way I can put back into the company without having to pull out.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's a big help, So without that, this wouldn't have happened.
I wish there was more content out there that talked about how important it is to have that partner there, that wife or that spouse, a significant other. My wife's my best friend, man.
Yeah.
Likewise. And she did something similar for me when we decided to start Media Tune. She put up with every crazy dream, every crazy idea. She wasn't just sitting there saying, "Sure, do what you want." But no, she was there when she was paying the bills for me too. She was. I remember one time I had to go ask her for gas money. I was like, "Fuck, dude." I was like, "Damn, dude, just talk about hit the ego a little bit." But she knew where we're going. She believed in the crazy idea, and for damn sure would not be where I'm at or the company, the team without her influence. Yeah. She's our secret HR.
There you go,
man. I kid you not.
That's awesome.
The whole team knows, all my management, my leadership team, they know, Amanda's here. Okay, well, We're okay.
Let's be good. Let's be good. Yeah, no, that's awesome, man.
She is that person that is very fair.
Mm-hmm.
She's very fair.
Sure.
She's a big heart. She wants everybody to be put in the right, you know, taken care of basically, and always put the right foot forward. So
that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's good.
Maybe we'll do some kind of course about that.
We could, man. That'd be cool, man. Hey, everybody, like, you need that support, right? Because you're not going to be able to start a business unless if I was living out of my shop, maybe it wouldn't be so hard. But but I'm not going to be able to get this business up and running, be able to put money back into the company and invest back without having some sort of support at home. And that's the one, the wife is the one. So
that's cool.
It's awesome.
Now you said that she used to own a marketing agency. How long did she own the agency?
She did that for a couple of years. I think probably about 2 years. Yeah. So.
Now, again, we just met, right? You've seen me on Automotive Mastery, but did you know I own a marketing agency?
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
Media Tune. The nickname I gave ourselves was like the best kept secret because we grew pretty quickly in the automotive film industry in a short period of time. Now we've expanded to the flat glass. That's what I was asking about. That it's a huge focus for us, and we're seeing a lot of growth in the industry there. Like I said, a lot of the automotive guys are jumping in there. It's a much bigger industry. I have a big background in the home improvement industry, and I know firsthand people will spend way more money on their homes than they will on their cars. Exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's going to be those guys that spend a lot of money on their cars, but your home is the biggest investment you'll ever make in your life, right? It's the biggest purchase and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, that's how I got started in the industry.
Awesome, man.
Full stack marketing agency. Well, it didn't start off that way. We were the first ones to introduce video marketing. So video's been my big MO. That's why we have so many cameras here. I'm going to make my editor's job a little difficult with looking at all the cameras. I want to see what you guys do. I want to see what the editors do there.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it'd be pretty cool.
I'm excited to see it.
I'm just curious, like, what was your thought process going into the interview? Because normally I already have a relationship, or I've known this person for many months or sometimes many years before I sit down with them for an Automotive Mastery interview. But what was your thoughts?
It was surprised that you chose me, because I never thought of myself as being somebody to interview. I never thought of myself as being somebody who's growing so fast that I'm worth interviewing. Like, I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm just
You're killing it in a short period of time. Not very many people. Listen, I've talked to many one-man armies that they're 10 years into this game, and that's not a hit. But let's call it what it is. You're 10 years into the game as being a business owner. You're still doing everything yourself. That's a challenge. That's not a problem. It's a challenge.
It is.
You got to learn the leadership skill, or maybe you got to learn the team building skill, or maybe you have to learn the recruiting skill. There's something there. Maybe it's a communication skill. It's a skills game, and there's something they're still learning. But you just hired your first employee. You got your first location, going in from a garage installer, and you're doing all this in a short period of time. Yes, you put in a lot of years of blood, sweat, and tears into the industry. But you're absolutely crushing it right now, man. Do you feel like you're tapped into your true potential here?
Not yet.
Not
I
yet?
feel like there's more.
I love
feel like
it.
there's more, man. There's a lot more. We have more products, always new products coming out. I always like working with the best of the best, hence Autobahn, right? Autobahn's great. They have some of the best products. Then we tap into other things, ceramic coatings and stuff like that too. We're looking at flat glass and other things in the future. Commercial vehicle wraps. We don't want to do color change, but there is a market for commercial vehicle wraps. Kendra is going to be our graphic designer for that. We work with her and get things rolling.
This market blows my mind. I just feel like you have to be here for a couple weeks to really understand the differences. I don't know. I'm a marketing guy, so I look at markets and all that stuff. But let's talk about Autobahn a little bit.
Sure.
How hard was it, or how easy was it to choose your brand that you were going with? How long did you kind of debate which one you wanted to use?
Yeah, so for the last 20 years, I was a Lumar guy. I worked at Lumar. And I really wanted to work with Lumar. I really wanted Eastman. I loved Eastman. Worked with them for so long. Eastman Chemical Companies is an amazing company, and anybody under that umbrella typically is very good, right? And they take good care of their customers. Everything runs so professionally. It's amazing, right? Customer service is great. Products are great. Everything. And I've worked with the other small brands. So when I first started the business, I bought into Exxon, got some film, cheap stuff, right? Just something to get the ball rolling, right? And then while I was looking for other brands, I tried tapping into Lumar because I know everybody over there. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to get that because the company I was working for has area lock on that. Of course, So I couldn't get it without their permission, and I didn't want to cross that bridge. So I was like, well, let me look around. So I talked to a buddy of mine who he worked with us over there. He just moved to Arizona, and he runs his own tint shop in Arizona, and he's an Autobahn dealer as well. So I asked him how he liked it, and he said it's amazing. He loves it. Service is great. Product is great. No problems, right? So I was like, okay. So I looked into it. I emailed them. I ended up getting Brody reached out to me.
Nice.
And he informed me that Autobahn requires a brick and mortar. You know, they don't allow people working out of their garage. So I was like, okay. But he did turn me on to Edge, which is their sister company, right?
Okay.
So we got Edge. So that got me my foot in the door with them, and I was able to use Edge, use those products, build my rapport with my customers, giving a great quality product.
That's great.
And then once I got this place, got the brick and mortar, I was ready to sign the lease, and I called Brody. I said, "Set it up. Let's get Autobahn." Man. I was looking forward to it. You know, they got a lifetime warranty on their paint protection. You can't beat that. You know, other than that, everybody else offers 5, 10, 12-year warranties. So lifetime warranty, that's a great seller that gets people in the door, and they just.
Interesting. On PPF.
Yep, PPF. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they have that for their clear gloss incognito. I'm sure you can probably see it in. Oh, maybe not. It's behind the banner. But incognito, clear gloss, PPF, lifetime warranty, amazing hydrophobic properties, self-healing, the whole 9, right? So the one thing that sets it apart, aside from being able to work with it easily, it's very user friendly, is that lifetime warranty, right? So
Got it.
and that's what a lot of customers are looking at. Like, what's different? This product compared to this product compared to this product. And Lumar has done so well at advertising for Valor and everything, and it's a great product, but the incognito is amazing. That lifetime warranty does draw people in, and then from there you use your sales tactics to kind of sell them on the rest.
Yeah, there it is. And I like the way that you set up your brand, because you said you wanted to appeal towards a higher end clientele.
Sure.
You're not going after exotics, or unless you tell me wrong, are you going after exotics? Or are you
Eventually,
going after...
yeah. So right now I'm not.
interesting.
There's not a whole lot of exotics on this side, right? Most of them are in town. So I am going to go after them, but that's going to be something that I'm probably going to cross once I get our plotter, which is coming in this week, and we're going to get it set up. We get that going, and then maybe I can get some free time to shoot down there, talk to some exotic dealerships. And,
But is that number one?
Yeah.
Is that where you're going, or are you
Yeah.
still trying to work on the $50,000, $100,000 cars?
Yeah, we're looking at the $50,000 and $100,000 cars, right? So
Okay.
those everyday drivers, people sitting in traffic every day, they're burning up, those Teslas. We love Tesla owners, right?
Yes.
Tesla's so much
Everybody.
class, and they
Everybody.
love spending money on their cars, and we love that.
Yeah,
right?
the secret's
So-
out.
Yeah.
Secret's out.
Yeah.
Tesla's
Yeah.
a PPF customer.
Tesla owners, man, they're the ones, PPF and window tinting, man. So we love it, and there's a lot of Teslas, in this area, this West Side area, there are a lot of Teslas, and it's only getting more and more saturated with Teslas. So
Shoot,
we're kind of pushing and trying to target those owners. I'm signed up with the Tesla community, the local community.
Do you have a
here.
lot of superchargers on the island?
There's a few. They're starting to pop up more and more. We have a couple chargers here as well in shop. So something that we offer to our customers as well. So hey, while we tint your car or while we do paint protection on the car, you get a free top off.
But how often are you doing a Tesla out here?
Yeah, at least once a week at least.
Really?
Yeah. So yeah, we used to get them. So when I was working at the other company, we'd get like 2 or 3 a day.
How many dealerships do you have out here?
Teslas?
Yeah.
I think there's one, if I'm not mistaken.
There's just
Yeah,
one?
I think there's just one.
No
Maybe 2.
kidding.
There might be 2.
And it's
yeah.
more expensive out here because they got to put them on a ship?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Yeah. So for a Model Y, my employee just bought a Model Y, and I think he spent $60,000 on that one. So I don't know what they're going for at the mainland, but yeah.
For a Model Y?
Yeah.
That sounds about the same.
Is that about the same?
Yeah, I think that's
not too
about
bad.
the
Yeah,
same.
you get 4Runners running for $50,000-$60,000 out here. So I don't
Okay, that's a
know
little bit more.
Yeah, so
I feel like 4Runners are around the mid
probably.
40s.
Yeah. Yeah, probably
okay.
mid 40s. So yeah, people are paying a little bit more for their vehicles just because of shipping and whatnot. Yeah. So, but
So I got to ask a little bit more about the exotics, though. Is that just kind of like a passion thing because you want to work on exotics?
done a lot of Ferraris, Bentleys, Lambos. Worked on a lot of old classic cars as well. I just love it. I don't find them challenging. I find because a challenge to me is a learning experience, right?
Right.
I love working on something different, and it breaks up the monotony of the everyday Camrys, 4Runners, Corollas. So it's really nice to get something different, and then you can showcase it. That's when it's time to shoot video and pictures and all that, right? So great for content on social media. Yeah.
It is great. I get nervous when brands start making that the number one thing on their website,
Yeah.
their social media. They pin it
Yeah.
at the top of their Facebook page because guess what? The guy that has the 4Runner, right?
He's gonna be like, I can't afford that.
I can't afford them.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're
Yeah.
not.
I'm not that. No, we like doing that. We use that for social media content, but that's not our number one market. Our target market is the local everyday person who lives on this side, and we try to capture them because there's not a lot of competition in this area aside from the people directly behind us. We got a few other guys who work.
But they're your friends.
Yeah, they're
Are
my
you kidding
buddies.
me?
Right?
Those are your
and we're two
buddies,
different
right?
demographics. They're doing a lower end market.
I
too,
think that's
so,
the best way to run a business when some of your quote unquote competitors are your friends.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta rub elbows with the other people who are going through the same struggles and challenges you are. There's so many people in this industry that they're just so secluded. They don't get out of their own bubble. They go to work, they show up, they get work done, and they never talk to anybody else inside the industry. You're just one conversation away from going from good to great or changing the business forever or making that one change that grows the business by 20, 30, 40% that year or gets rid of a massive amount of headache and stress. It lets you stop working from 80 hours a week down to maybe 60 or 50 a week.
Yeah, exactly.
And just from networking.
Yep. And we also do freelance work. So we do paint protection film for a lot of local tint companies around here who don't necessarily want to take on hiring PPF guy or learning how to do it because they're older and maybe they just don't want to do that. So it's easier for them to pay somebody to come in and do it, but they can still tap into that market, make a little money off of it and still hire us to do it. So we got a couple of them.
Are you focusing on window tint or is window tint just an upsell for you?
Window tint's more of like a filler, right? So it kind of fills the gaps, right? We're kind of pushing the PPF as much as possible, doing a lot of that. But window tinting is filling the gaps. And right now during summer season, window tint is going to be our number one point, right? So that's going to be your number one seller because it is hot. And that's where most people are going to be spending their money right now. They're focused on keeping their vehicles cooler, keeping themselves cooler and more comfortable in their car. Not as much focused on the paint protection right now. But I think once the heat kind of subsides a little bit, gets a little cooler, then people will start looking at protecting their paint and vehicles a little bit more.
What does the slow season look like around here? Because it's pretty much hot year round.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, I mean, it'll drop down. So right now it's pretty hot. I don't know what it is outside. I'm going to guess somewhere around 90, 92, something like that. And that's pretty typical.
Nice gentle breeze.
With a nice gentle breeze. Yeah, you got a nice day today. Yeah. You get those south winds and you get a hot breeze and it doesn't really do anything for you. But yeah, usually around the winter time, or winter, right? It might get down to like 80,
You have a
85.
winter time here?
Yeah, that's what we call winter. It's not really winter. It's like 85 degrees, much more comfortable. You get those north trade winds starting to blow a little bit more, so it keeps you cooler. So people aren't really thinking about tint. It's not top of mind, right? They're just like, well, it's feel nice and comfortable. It's at the beach, whatever. But it's not something that they're gonna get in their car and be like, oh my God, it's so hot. I need to tint these windows, right? So yeah, that's where we ramp up advertising to stay top of mind and try and get people in the door a little bit more. Yeah.
You know, we were just talking about Teslas. Have you worked on any Cybertrucks yet?
No, actually, I wanted to get one and I almost had one in, but unfortunately, I was out doing an install at a residential job, and the guy was here, and I was like, so I tried to book them.
I've seen two on the streets here.
There's quite a few actually.
Is there?
There's probably about 3 or 4 that I see in this local area right here within our first 5 miles of radius. And then once you go to the town side or even Hawaii Kai, the east side.
I kid you not. Every 5 minutes on the road in California, you'll see one.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
They're blowing up. They're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
Yeah. Which I don't see the allure.
I think it's polarizing. I like them. I like them. I think it's an ugly, beautiful beast.
Cool. Yeah, they're cool. I like the Rivians, man. I like Rivians.
Rivians are gorgeous.
Rivians are beautiful.
Mike has one. Mike has a Rivian. They're great.
I think Rivians are amazing vehicles.
They are. They're really good quality.
Yeah.
What's going on with the company? I heard that they were struggling a little bit.
I don't really follow them too much. I'm so busy trying to focus
on
running the business.
I can see you're busy.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we're not. I'm not looking at the Rivian marketing right now. So
that's all good. Well, man, I appreciate you setting aside the time. Like I said, I appreciate you letting me come in and invade. Is there anything you want to say to the Automotive Mastery community while you're here?
Well, I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your time and interviewing me, and look forward to hopefully meeting some of the top dogs in the industry one day, man. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, I appreciate you guys, putting us on.
We'll get you off the island. We'll get you.
Yeah, that'll be great, man. I love it. We were talking about going to Georgia. We got the Autobahn dealer conference coming up soon in February, but definitely got to look at that thing. And man, I appreciate you.
Appreciate
you so
you,
much.
bro.